One of the most pivotal moments in the Hunger Games saga, if not the most pivotal, was the scene where Katniss volunteers as tribute to take her sister's place. This single decision triggered the chain of events we all know: her participation and ultimate victory in the 74th Hunger Games, leading to the eventual fall of the Capitol at the hands of the Mockingjay. But what if Katniss hadn't stepped forward? What if instead it had been Primrose who competed in the Hunger Games? In this video, we'll delve into the possible scenarios surrounding this question, in a what-if exploration of one of the most iconic dystopian franchises in film history. In the fictional country of Panem, during the reaping for the 74th Hunger Games, Primrose Everdeen is chosen as tribute. A 12-year-old girl, frail and trembling, far too young to face the horrors of the arena, walks up to the stage. But this time, there's no desperate cry of, "I volunteer! I volunteer!" Katniss Everdeen, frozen by the fear of losing her sister, doesn't move. And so Primrose becomes the official female tribute for District 12. It's clear that the odds are not in Prim's favor. Unlike her sister, she has no survival skills, no hunting experience, and no practical knowledge to help her fight for her life. She would be easy prey for the other tributes, especially the career tributes. Her kind and gentle nature might have been perceived as a weakness, but her innocence and youth might have won over some sponsors. She would likely try to hide and avoid direct conflict, a strategy that might keep her alive in the early days. Perhaps she might even form a bond with another tribute, like Rue from District 11. However, without the ability to defend herself, Prim would be highly vulnerable if discovered, making her death almost inevitable. Still, it's possible she might have lasted longer than expected, and that would likely be thanks to Peeta. We know Peeta has been in love with Katniss since they were children, and his feelings for her might have driven him to protect her sister. However, Peeta's compassionate and selfless nature means he might not have needed extra motivation to look out for Prim. Peeta would likely try to shield Prim in the arena, forming an alliance with her and relying on his intelligence and strategic thinking to keep her safe. However, this alliance wouldn't have the same impact as the one he shared with Katniss. Without the romantic storyline that made them Capitol favorites, Peeta and Prim's ability to gain sponsorships could have been limited. Despite Peeta's efforts to protect Primrose, her death would still be almost certain. Her youth and innocence would likely make her death particularly heartbreaking, evoking a strong emotional reaction from the audience. But it likely wouldn't ignite a direct challenge to the Capitol's authority. On the other hand, it's unlikely that Peeta would have emerged as the victor of the games. As mentioned earlier, without the famous story of the star-crossed lovers from District 12, Peeta wouldn't have had any sponsor support, leaving him to fend for himself in the arena. He would have relied on his ability to camouflage, as he did in the original games, allowing him to avoid direct confrontation for a while. During the events following the games, Peeta proved to be a strong and fairly agile tribute. However, his attempts to protect Prim in this alternate scenario could have distracted him from defending himself or focusing on his own survival, rather than competing aggressively. As a result, it's highly probable that Peeta would have died in the arena while trying to save Primrose. Now, with both Primrose and Peeta out of the arena, who would have won the games? Let's consider the career tributes from Districts 1, 2, and 4, who are trained from a young age to participate in the Hunger Games and have a clear advantage in combat and survival. Without Katniss there to challenge their plans, it's likely that one of them would have claimed victory. The most likely winner of the 74th Hunger Games would undoubtedly have been Cato from District 2. Cato was one of the strongest and most aggressive tributes, and without Katniss to pose a threat or the climactic berry incident at the end, he would likely have emerged victorious due to his combat skills and sheer brutality. His impulsive temper might have been a weakness, but without an equally formidable opponent like Katniss, he would have been nearly impossible to defeat. Another potential winner could have been Clove, also from District 2. Like Cato, she was a formidable competitor, particularly in close combat. If she managed to outlast her ally, she might have been a strong contender for victory. A final potential victor might have been Thresh from District 11. Physically imposing and a fearsome competitor, Thresh demonstrated his strength and survival instincts. In the original events, he spared Katniss out of respect for Rue, but without Katniss in the arena, his sole focus would have been survival. With his strength and ability to avoid conflict until the right moment, he could have had a real chance of winning if he managed to steer clear of the careers. So, with Cato likely emerging as the victor of the games, and Primrose and Peeta dead, what would have happened to Katniss? Without participating in the games, the rebellion against the capital might have been delayed, as there would have been no central figure to rally around, no Mockingjay to inspire the uprising. Katniss herself would likely have remained the primary provider for her family, hunting in the woods to put food on the table and taking care of her mother, as well as helping Gale's family. Prim's death in the games would have been emotionally devastating for Katniss, but she might have channeled that grief into anger toward the capital. She might have sought to join local resistance movements or even collaborate with District 13 if she had discovered its existence. Her survival skills, hunting expertise, and natural charisma could have made her an important figure in a grassroots rebellion, even if she didn't have the public platform she gained as a tribute. In an armed conflict against the capital, Katniss would likely have distinguished herself with her archery skills and hunting expertise. She might have led strategic operations, such as infiltrations or ambushes, in collaboration with District 13. However, she would have remained an unknown figure to both the capital and the districts. Without her participation in the games, she wouldn't have drawn President Snow's attention or had the opportunity to become the symbol of the rebellion. Her influence in the original story stemmed largely from the events during the games, her defiance with the berries, and her emotional connection with the audience. Without Katniss as the Mockingjay, the rebellion would likely have found another leader, but it might have been less cohesive and more prolonged. Even so, her bravery and skills could eventually have earned her a significant role in the resistance, though later, and with a much smaller reach. She would have repeatedly blamed herself for not helping Prim, not teaching her how to defend herself, or not volunteering in her place. Her resentment toward her mother would also have grown, further straining their already fragile relationship. Without Peeta in the picture, what might have happened between Katniss and Gale? Gale Hawthorne would likely have played a much larger role in her life. Without the games and her forced relationship with Peeta, it's possible that Katniss would have developed a deeper, more romantic relationship with Gale, given their closeness and bond as hunting partners. In the original story, the games and her forced relationship with Peeta complicated Katniss's feelings for Gale. Without those events, Katniss might have had more emotional space to explore a romantic connection with him. Both Katniss and Gale shared a deep resentment toward the capital. Without the games as an immediate catalyst, their dissatisfaction might have been expressed through local resistance efforts, such as increasing their illegal hunting expeditions, helping other districts smuggle goods, or even planning small acts of rebellion. Working together against the capital might have strengthened their bond, as they shared a common goal. Prim's death would have profoundly impacted Katniss, and Gale, as her closest source of support, would likely have deepened their connection by offering her comfort and helping her channel her grief into resistance efforts. However, the loss of Prim might also have created an emotional barrier for Katniss, making her more reserved and less willing to open herself up to love, even with Gale. Despite their strong bond, tensions might have arisen due to their differing perspectives. Gale's approach to opposing the capital is more impulsive and aggressive, while Katniss, though equally rebellious, tends to be more cautious. As the rebellion escalated, their ideological differences might have surfaced much earlier. Gale is willing to justify extreme measures to defeat the capital, whereas Katniss prioritizes the protection of innocent lives, a difference that becomes evident in Mockingjay. These opposing perspectives could have complicated their relationship, even if it initially grew stronger. Ultimately, the romantic future for Katniss and Gale would not have been very promising. Without Katniss in the games, pivotal moments in the story, such as her alliance with Rue, her confrontation with the careers, and the rise of the Mockingjay as a symbol, would never have occurred. The 74th Hunger Games would have been far less memorable for the citizens of Panem and significantly less inspiring for the other districts. Characters like Haymitch, Effie, and Cinna would likely have faced different and perhaps bleaker fates. Others, such as President Snow and Alma Coin, might have had a greater chance of achieving their goals. In the end, Katniss would likely have lived a solitary life, consumed by her resistance against the Capitol, driven by her desire to avenge her sister's death, and focused solely on survival. And that is how the Mockingjay would never have come to be. Let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like to see covered on the channel, and remember, if you enjoy this type of video, the best way to support me is by leaving a like, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell. See you in the next video.